Ladies and gentlemen, I am loving these student interviews. So I would say this is a little bit of a slow starter. This is the story of Boyuan, who went from, for months and months really, just consuming content and being a passive agency owner, thinking that he had to have all the right info, to January 10th finally making the decision, okay, I'm gonna stop sitting on my butt, stop sitting on the sidelines, and actually go out there into the playing field. And within 24 days actually managed to sign his first sharp client, and as I said, very, very close to signing his second client. And myself, as obviously the owner of the largest education company on earth, specifically for agency owners, GrowYourAgency.com, I see a lot of agency owners, and I can tell you that I see a very bright and a very tenacious agency owner in him. So, as mentioned previously, I think this is a little bit of a slow starter interview-wise, but later on you're gonna find out exactly how removing one word off an email headline actually managed to increase his open rate by 8%, literally just removing one word. And I asked some more heavy hitting questions like, what is one thing that, most of the SMA community believes is true that you believe is untrue or you see differently? So once again, like every single student interview out there, I'm actually trying to get you guys real value from my students, from my successful students. So it's another heavy hitter. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another student interview. We are joined here with Boyuan. So, first of all, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to give us a little bit of context about your journey, which I know tons of people will find value from. So, you've just signed, or very recently, within the past couple months, you signed your first sharp client, and it seems like you've got another one on the horizon very, very shortly. And all in all, guys, for anyone that's watching this, although I have a very large community of students, I also have a very good pulse on, a weirdly good pulse on how everyone's doing. And I remember people and this and that. And, one thing I can tell you immediately off the bat is that, you're looking at a very sharp agency owner right here. Even though, you've been in the space for how long?
So I started actually learning about SMMA 4 months ago. Before that, I knew of it was like a thing people did to make money online, but then it was more headline reading. So it wasn't really about till I'd say 5 months ago. So early October time, that was when I really started to dig in deeper and then progress with it.
Okay, amazing. So I guess that kind of skips ahead to give us a little bit of a breakdown of what, because you mentioned there that you were aware of SMA. So give us a little bit more context as to any sort of entrepreneurial ventures you might have had before, becoming serious about SMA, joining Agency Incubator, and everything since then.
So as I've never really had any pursuits of being like an entrepreneur. I flip things occasionally, like buying secondhand from Gumtree, like cameras and stuff, and then flipping them on eBay and whatnot. And then back in when I was about 16, so around 2015, 2016, I did a lot of like CSGO gambling. But that was more on the like betting side with esports and stuff. And that was how I made my money. Not playing like roulette or whatever, thank God. But yeah, other than that, haven't really had any experiences with entrepreneurship. With regards to how I joined the SMMA space, it was literally like I realized I don't like doing the operational sides of businesses. So I don't like, handling delivery, merchandising, buying, selling, I prefer more just, that's why I found SMMA. And then I always kind of knew about it, headline reading, just because it comes up on your YouTube suggestions a lot if you are in the kind of entrepreneurship niche, if that's what YouTube tags you as. So I just started watching videos here and then I was like, oh, this is a cool service to offer. Why not? Let's go for it. Yeah.
All right, amazing. Were there any others that you considered before jumping in?
So I looked into Amazon FBA a little bit, just because I thought that was more straightforward than starting an e-commerce brand from scratch. Because everything's fulfilled by Amazon, right? So I figured you probably wouldn't have to do the delivery side of things and things of that nature. But then I saw you have to, find UPC, is it UPCs? The like tag codes and like all these regulations. I was like, ugh, screw that. So I decided to look further, found dropshipping, but when I first came across like the dropshipping space, I was like, wow, there's so many like 15, 16-year-olds. Could this be a scam? So I was like, oh, okay, let's not do that. And then eventually I came across SMMA because one of my friends actually does it, and he runs a agency because he started off in the dropshipping space. So I was like, hey man, I'm looking to get into this. Any tips and tricks to just start off with, like point me in the right direction. And from there, just joined in agency Incubator. Because literally I saw the launch campaign you did. I was like, this guy with such a cool launch campaign must know a thing or two about marketing. Let's get enrolled. Yeah.
Awesome. So that must have been during the launch period. So that would have been just towards the end of October. So is that kind of when you officially start your agency?
No, so in the beginning, I think I made the same mistake as a lot of people. I was like, oh, I need to learn more and da. And then, so I spent essentially like end of October to December time, like learning, when realistically it was more just procrastinating and any outreach I did. So I think I did about 60 cold calls, and then like sent about 50 emails, but all of that was very manual. So I hadn't automated any of that. So like following up with emails and stuff, that wasn't really possible for me at the time, just because when you're typing every single email out, even if you might have like a template that you copy and paste, just the process of like personalizing it takes time. So the way I would describe the outreach I did was pointless and amateurish. So didn't really work at all, didn't get any responses. And then it wasn't really until the 10th of January, that was when I actually, after I took about a 3-week break during Christmas where I literally just didn't do anything. January 10th is when I really started doing like outreach and running my agency with a serious mindset, I guess. So yeah.
I think there's always that I think there's always the day you start an agency, and I think there's the day when you have an agency. And those, sometimes the discrepancy between that can be a year. Sometimes people will literally just become like information hoarders, hoarding for a year, thinking that they have an agency or they're an agency owner, when no, you're just a spectator at that point. So I like the fact that you mentioned, when you created your agency and when you actually started your agency and started taking it seriously. So you really started taking it seriously 10th of January, and from there it didn't take you long to sign your your first shark client. And for anyone in agency Incubator, we have fish, shark, whale, and the brackets for that.
Yeah, so to expand on that a little bit more then, so 10th of January is when I kind of started taking everything seriously, and then I made myself very stringent like outreach deadlines every single day. So I was enrolling. So how I get my clients is through email sequencing. And what essentially that is like, you have email templates, yes, and you have the fields automatically filled out, so with contacts, names, and stuff like that. But then what you would then do is each enrollment, you would customize the actual messages, and then it would send it out automatically. So it saves you a lot of the process of, every day having to remember, okay, 5 days ago I sent XYZ emails, now I need to type it out again and copy and paste it, blah, blah. So I gave myself very strict deadlines for that. And fortunately, on my 24th day, that was when I signed my client, 3rd of February. Payment contract taken on the same day, like a few hours after the call. So yeah, all good.
Amazing. So one thing that's very interesting is you dropped out, you said December.
Yeah, so December 6th, dropped out.
So you actually dropped out before you got any clients. What made you decide to do that?
So in hindsight, that isn't probably the smartest thing to do, but for me, I felt like it was kind of right, because I'm the type of person where I work more and harder and better if I'm just like more committed. So I figured, so there's a phrase in Chinese, like a proverb, which goes something along the lines of fighting with your back against the water. So I was like, let me actually back myself into a wall, because university for me, I was doing computer science with AI and I was in my second year. I figured that I kind of went into it because it was like the natural path to take after sixth form, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I knew that, computer science, very good degree to have, pretty profitable, and like, in my opinion, one of the highest ROI degrees out there at the moment. So I was like, I'm good at it. Why not do it, right? And I have an interest in AI as well. But then what happened was I discovered, I realized, like, it may be something I'm good at, but I really just cannot see myself sitting at a desk, doing anything computer science related 10, 20, 50 years down the line. And, with the amount of money I'm trying to make for myself and my family, it's just not really plausible with like going down the traditional path. So I was like, well, why waste time here when I could find other avenues to create wealth?
Okay. Now, with your agency, right now, what is the best form of outreach that's working for you? And by the way, your agency works with what niche?
Ecom. So right now, I think within the ecom space, we're cool to kind of take on any client that's either in the clothing or supplementation niche, more specifically. Just because I think with ecom, there's two kind of main ways you can go, like either lead gen for like a software or like some sort of software company, or lead acquisition for like B2B basically, or you could do B2C through actual products, and we're more the product route, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, in terms of best outreach methods.
Oh yeah. So best outreach methods is like automated email sequencing. So sending like an email funnel essentially, but kind of automating that, and then also stacking that with multiple touch points. So I would let's say I find a brand on Instagram that I want to reach out to. I find the actual founder's personal email, enroll them into sequence, and then how I stack outreach is after 3 days on the second email, I would then either pick up the phone, give them a call, connect with them on LinkedIn if they're on LinkedIn, and shoot them a message, like a DM on their personal Instagram. So, how really easy to find their personal Instagram. You literally go on the business's page and you just search their name on the following list. Cause like if you have your own business, are you going to follow yourself? Most likely, right? Mm-hmm. So I just do that. And then it works out pretty well. Right now, my newest sequence. So how I do it is I split test each sequence. So in the beginning, it was a very like almost cookie cutter script. Enrolled 100, 68% open rate, 1% meeting rate. And then there's like click through. I can't really remember the numbers, but with the second sequence, I changed one word on the subject line. It went from 68 to 76, which is pretty cool, like open rate wise. And then I think 4% meeting. But then, yeah, now I'm just like slowly trying to increment that with iterations on the sequence. So I think right now my newest sequence is on 35% reply rate, which is pretty cool. And they haven't been through the whole sequence yet.
Okay, that's amazing. Just one thing, your camera's a little out of focus.
How do I get it focused?
Yeah, I think we're good now. But one question I wanted to ask you is, obviously you don't need to give us your number one, the real banger, but give us one juicy headline and your thinking behind it. You see, on these student interviews,
that's the thing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, enough said.
I can tell you the word that I took out to increase. So the one headline that I was using for my version 1, 2, 3, and 4, I changed it by one word from version 1 to 2.
So you took out a word.
Yeah, I took out a word. So I literally was, you know How to Write Copy That Sells by Ray Edwards?
Yeah.
I highly recommend anyone read that book. If you're like a starter in terms of copywriting. The word I took out from the email that shot it up by 6 to 8% is the word quick. So I know like loads of gurus online tell you like, oh yeah, just like preface everything with quick. But then I feel like if you're reaching out to, so my criteria for,
when you're reaching out to a sophisticated buyer,
yeah,
like right now, for example, I'm rereading Spin Selling, another great book if no one's read that. But the main preface of that book is you have a totally different, you know, like for example, the number one thing that all salespeople are obsessed with is like closing, like what's your closing line, et cetera, et cetera. And that works on a smaller sale, but with larger sales and more sophisticated buyers, it's a lot less about closing.
yeah.
It's a lot more about everything you do prior to that point. But yeah, I like the fact you mentioned that, because like if I saw quick, I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, so well, okay, I'll quite clearly I've been put on someone's scummy email list, and
Yeah.
it would actively put me off. So I love the fact that you mentioned that.
Yeah. So that was literally the word, and the thinking behind it is literally, I was like, SMMA, I guess you could call it saturated in terms of how many agency owners there are out there. And, most of them, I'd say probably like 90% of them have never had clients, or, just don't really know what they're doing. So my whole thing is literally, how do I not sound like the 90%? And even if that means sounding stupid sometimes. So the one outreach email sequence that I just memorized from heart, because I thought it was so clever what I did. And this was before I got my client. It was to a pet supplies, like they sell like dog cushions and stuff. They sell like dog cushions and stuff. And I was like, I don't know anything about pet supplies. I don't know anything about this space. So literally how I got the owner to respond was I included like 2 pet puns in the email, and that was it. And then the owner actually responded, because after opening the email, like I think 12 or 13 times, they finally they kind of gave into it. So yeah, literally my whole thing is, how do I not sound like the 90% agency owners out there? So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, that leeways perfectly into my next question, which is what is one common SMMA belief that everyone holds that you vehemently disagree with?
I don't think there's anything in particular. I think maybe it's that. It was the one call close thing, but then yesterday, from the way you explained on the Q&A call, when I asked you, how do you overturn these objections, I just realized I was, crap on sales calls. So I think it's more of, I think one thing that people get wrong is they think they need to know more knowledge.
One thing I would say about the one call close, if I had the opportunity, obviously everyone knows that I'm a big believer that you can close a client. I've closed over 5-figure retainers, one call close. So I've signed multiple whales, one call close, and I'm a firm believer in it. That said, if you could give me 2 calls guaranteed or 1 call, I would always take a 2-call close. My issue with a 2-call close is the fact that anytime any extra step in the sales process, there's bleed through, right?
Yeah.
So my issue is, I know that if I don't close them in that first meeting, I might not get a second meeting. To give you a perfect example, I think it would have already gone out by now, but in a vlog that's coming out, I have a client, 5,200 pound a month client. On Friday, it was three business partners. 2 of them, the third one wasn't able to be present. He was away on a business trip. 2 of them said, yes, awesome, we're ready to move forward. And, I asked them, just because I want to solidify, I set up the 15-minute follow-up on Monday, but I asked them, sorry to interrupt you, but I just thought it was applicable.
That's fine, yeah.
Because I wanted to get a little temperature read. I was like, well, what happens if X business partner says no? And they go, look, to be honest, if this business partner says no, we will overturn the decision. Like, we are 100%, because there was 3 of them. So there was 2 present. So I'm like, okay, awesome. On Monday, I get on the call expecting all 3, only 2 there. They're like, so sorry, like he still isn't back, couldn't make it. And then we chat a little more, and they wanted to see the contract, which was very abnormal and whatnot. By the time that the next day comes around, keep in mind on Friday, the two business partners are literally saying that I will overturn the other business partner's decision on Friday. On Monday, they're like, we're so excited to go. It's a yes. The other business partner said yes. We just need to basically the business partner just wants to be present, you know, as we completed and sign the contract, pay the invoice. The third meeting, they were a no-show. Like not really? even the courtesy to come on the call. And that's
on the thing, did you get them to fill out their personal phone numbers?
I gave them a call and everything. Yeah, of course. Cause I have, like when they book in, they have, you know, you put in their phone number, like, you know, so, that's kind of the issues that I have with two. If I could get a guaranteed 2 meetings, I would always take a 2-call close over 1-call close.
Yeah.
But it's just the bleed through of it. But anyways, back to your point.
So I disagreed with 1-call close. I think I only disagreed with it for beginner agency owners like myself and a lot of others, just because, you know, once you get very, very confident in your service, because, you know, initially when you've never had a client before, imagine the nerves on being like promising, like, yeah, look at these crazy returns, you know, as opposed to, you know, once you're very, oh, God's sake. Once you're like very well experienced in terms of being an agency owner, then the confidence that you'll be able to back your claims like very, very definitely, right? And very much stand your ground. And I think it's just like one thing that I do is that kind of goes against what Esteban says, and it's I send proposals, because the way I do it is like I break down what exactly they're paying for, because I feel like a lot of people what they get stuck on, and I know that because a few beginner agency owners, we talk a lot, and then they get stuck on when people ask, what are you exactly charging that much for? And they can't, they kind of start stuttering. So I make sure on the proposal to break that down and then, you know, get on the call. But I also, and for the second call where I close them, take payment,
Okay. So that's one thing that you, one thing, what's one thing, because look, January 10th, you know, was really when you actually put effort into your agency and didn't take a passive role. January 10th. 24 days later, you've signed your first client, shark client. So, you know, as I said, people in the community know the kind of boundaries of that. And, you know, you're very, you said you're very, very close to signing another client. I know you mentioned on yesterday's live Q&A call.
Oh, so with that one, it's literally, I've been speaking to the head of marketing only, and it's just bloody hard to get the founders on the call. And it's literally like just touch points with the head of marketing. I think I've done 3 meetings with him already. But it's just one of those cases where, you know, you have to get past him as the gatekeeper. And that's why it's taken so long. But that shouldn't be the case normally, basically.
No, I mean, so that gives context. So look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's January 10th, early February, you've signed your first client. And then now, you know, less than a month later, you're on your way to signing your second client. So you're clocking along at a good pace. And, you know, I can just tell you, I have full confidence in you within the next 3 months, to be honest, to be hitting 6 figures a year from your agency. As I said, like, I've just, you know, I encounter a lot of agency owners, as you can imagine, you know, owning GrowYourAgency.com. And I have a good pulse on everyone in the community, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing I've noticed about you is you're very inquisitive. You know, I can totally see why you've been successful very, very quickly. You know, signing two sizable clients, or on your way to signing the second one.
Fingers crossed. On your way to signing, it's going to close just because, you know, of the
really?
Situation. Yeah.
So nonetheless, even that first client within the first 24 days, what do you think you do differently to most beginner agency owners?
I think, to be honest, Iman, like the way you described, you know, people sitting at the sidelines, as opposed, so there are people who have agencies and people who actually own agencies, you know. Wait, is it, I forgot what you said, but basically it's something along those lines. Yeah, like, you know, just take action. Like, I think so many people are you know, hung up on like maybe creating a website or creating like the onboarding process and and just like essentially they're just like waffling and faffing about. What you need to do as if you're just a beginner, get a contractor, do sales 24/7. That's it. Because realistically, like nothing else is going to put money into your Stripe account. So I think people just kind of the way what I do differently is, you know, I go beyond the syllabus as well of Grow Your Agency, just because I think what people also fail to realize is when they buy a course, they think it's like a one-stop solution kind of thing for everything. However, it's like, well, you know, you're creating a course. Yes, is it valuable? Absolutely. But, you know, there's like, what, 1,000 people enrolled learning the same knowledge. So that's how it becomes oversaturated. So how can you unsaturate a market for yourself, essentially? And that's what I've been really focusing on. So with my email sequencing, I really just try to not sound like every SMMA guru out there. Same with my outreach process, same with pretty much everything I do. Yeah.
Okay, understood. And what are some, very interesting then, what are some differentiating factors?
What do you mean, like with the way?
So what are some things? What are some things that, as I said, like we've already talked, and you know, I thought that was a very interesting question. Like, what do most agency owners believe that you know you disagree with? But what are some things that you see a lot of agency owners do that you take a 180 on?
Okay. Well, so there's a few phrases that I just never ever use. One of them being, and it's one that is actually in Grow Your Agency's email script, right? And it's like the phrase of like leaving money on the table. And I feel like that's been so overplayed. And don't get me wrong, to be honest, if you give a good script, an actual very, very good script, it's going to get oversaturated within a matter of weeks. So those phrases are going to be the new, you know, leave money on the table phrases, right? So it's just like, personally, I try to sound as unsalesy as possible in my emails. I'm literally like, hey, you know, I see you have these ads up. Have you ever thought about, you know, maybe expanding on your middle and bottom of funnel, or, you know, running like some post-purchase ads or whatever to increase LTV? And I think it works exceptionally well when it comes to, you know, prospects that are doing over $1 million in revenue a year, which is like kind of the qualification criteria that I have. So yeah.
So you're spending a much larger, and that's one thing I know about you straight off the bat. And this is why I don't know, like I love, I'm sure, or hopefully hopefully it's coming across on these student interviews that I'm trying to get like to the root cause, and I'm trying to, you know, in the same way, like I'm trying to challenge a lot of my beliefs. I was actually hoping that you would mention the 2 call close thing, and we could have like a little back and forth on that, because like I love hearing, you know, people who have gone through the program but then switched it up and found success by tweaking things slightly and this and that. So I know one thing that you do, is you do, as you said, a lot more background research on the clients, and use that rather than having these blanket statements and going really wide. You'll spend a lot more time prospecting. Am I right?
Yeah. So right now, if I were to enroll 20 contacts into my sequence, it will take me like close to 4 to 6 hours, which I don't know if that's normal.
Not at all.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Not at all, but quite clearly, you're, you know, with your current, you know, with your current statistics as they're holding up, you said when you enroll 100 contacts. For me, obviously, open rate is a good barometer as to whether it's working. But the more important thing for me is, are you getting meetings from it? So you said right now, from 100 contacts enrolled, you're getting around 4 meetings.
That's for my version 2 sequence. So with my new one, so after enrolling 20, I got a meeting on the first email straight away, but then the reply rate is 35%. So what tends to happen that I notice with my email sequences is like they book in the meeting, not on the actual email, not from the meeting link on the actual emails, but more on, you know, they ask me a few questions, just because you have to understand these e-com store owners, they get like so many SMMA people reaching out to them. So like it's very normal for them to be skeptical. So what they tend to do is email back me some questions like, what can you offer us, da da da, or something along those lines. And once you answer that, that's when they book in the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So at a reply rate, so right now that's why I'm looking more at reply rates rather than meeting rates directly. So with my new sequence, the meeting rate is at 4% and the reply rate is at 35, with click-through being 9.
And
so I
that's
look
a
at more
sample
reply
size
rates.
of, my question, how big is that sample size?
Only 23. So I'm going to be
Okay.
adding 10 a day from now on, just because I do realize that maybe once I get another client, I need to, you know, probably get a VA or something to do the meetings for me. Just not do the meeting, sorry, get the appointments set for me. Just
Set the appointments.
6 hours a day is pretty like, you know.
Okay, understood. Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, if I were you, like, it seems like you've got a system working well. I'd push that system. As you said, the only thing that matters to you right now, or the number one priority, is getting meetings set. I would love to see a larger sample size on that. And the reason, you know, even with Agency Incubator, one of the reasons that I have that outreach tracking sheet where you can put your cold call versus cold Loom versus cold messaging versus email versus this, that, is because, like, technically you could do you could do 100 cold calls, but obviously a cold call takes a lot less time than doing, you know, a Loom and preparing that and this and that, or sending an email, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd love to see how much time you're spending on average to actually get a meeting set. Yeah, I'd love to see you, like, just get more numbers through that system and get a larger sample size.
I have quite like good numbers if you're curious to see. So how I schedule my day right now is I use you know, Todoist.
Yeah.
I integrate that with a extension called Toggle. So that tracks how long I spend on each task. So every week I make sure that I clock in like just working both on just overall everything, between 30 to 35 hours a week of work, and then I take Sundays off. But let me just show you how many hours I've actually spent on outreach in total. I just need to pull up the reports for
that. No worries. So let's see, as we and as said prior to the call, I told you I have a sales call in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. No
so
worries.
I have to be a little time sensitive, but I think if I want to, one thing that I think I really want the audience to take away from this interview is, first of all, don't take everything at face value. Put your own spin on it. As you said, things only get saturated once you just expect everything to be a one-stop shop. And even if you just rephrase things slightly, that already has a huge impact. The other thing, I think one of the main things that I love you mentioned is the quick, how taking that away literally took you from, increase your open rate by what, like 8% or something like that, because you understood that you were talking to a sophisticated buyer. You know, and it's even in the way that I mentioned in Agency Incubator, I tell people, I'm like, look, when you talk to sophisticated buyers, if you're trying to pitch me, don't pitch me on, and what would this do for your family or this, that, because, like, you can't, you know, for me at this stage, I need 80% a logic, maybe 20% emotion, but you have to wrap up that emotion in, for example, the way that I say in Agency Incubator is, look, let's say I was pitching me, look, Iman, you're quite clearly a very successful business owner. So my question to you is, why do you even want to get from, hypothetically, let's say $100 a month to $300 a month? You know, why would you? You're so successful already. You know, so that kind of, without, you know, because if someone asks me that question, like, oh, are you doing it for your family? I'm like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, so, you know, I think it's very important to know when you're talking to a sophisticated buyer, which are usually clients in that shark or whale category. So yeah, do you have the open rate pull up?
So in total, I think 126 point something hours on outreach alone. Open rates, you mean?
Sorry, I meant how long you were spending on outreach.
126 that was between the 10th of Jan to today. But to be honest, I've put kind of outreach on hold for the past 2.5 weeks. I haven't been doing 20 a day, just because I'm changing up the way I lead source a little bit. Right now, that's the thing that's mainly driving the 35% reply rates. But yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Well, as I said, just due to having to jump on this call in like 3 minutes, I'm gonna have to cut it here. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for those insights. As I said, like on these student interviews, I'm really trying to like dig deep and even just trying to get some sort of juicy headline or some sort of interesting, just something that is so unique to you. Even just that 8% reply rate, or how you thought, you could do a 2-call close. Now you might transition to a 1-call close. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, I said, wish I could run this a little longer, but hope you guys enjoyed the student interview. I got to get on the sales call. And once again, thank you so much for your time.